Do you feel exhausted before your walk with your dog on leash even starts? You know that most owners quit this process too early because they don't know what to look for. In this week's episode, we take a deep dive into this and we debunk the myth that you have to have a big leash and it's all about the leash. And before we dive into it, be sure to subscribe so you are notified as soon as the next episode drops. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please, and you like the video, click the like button and be sure to subscribe so that you're here when each episode drops. And we drop a new episode on dog behavior each and every week. So post in the comments where you're from, what's happening with your weather down there. And I really wanted to talk to you today about creating a following mindset with your dog and how you can train. And look at my hair, look at the dog drag me in. Anyway, how you can motivate your dog even though the weather's bad. Prince, who he's not too bad with the cold, but a couple of times this winter, hey Ann, good to see you. We open up the door and he just puts his head out and then sticks back in. So type a 1 in the comments if you've ever had your dog not want to go outside because of the weather. Because it really is really wreaking havoc this year. So these people that came on the weekend, they had this cute little guy. I wish I could post a picture. I don't quite know how to do that in these, with these. I don't know if I can do that here. I do have a picture. Share a photo with your viewers. Tapping a photo or a video will show it right away. I wonder if I can do that. Let me just see here if I can find it, because he was a cute little gaffer. So there's Charlie Brown. He's trying to get out of the cold this morning. He's like not having it. He's like, just get me out of here. I don't want this. And and then there was, I'll find this little guy. And okay, so there's the guy, and he's 7 months old. And he's as cute as a button. And his owner was, as soon as she stepped in the door, her frustration was measurable, palpable. And look at this guy. It's the sweetest face ever. And so thank you for your patience with that, folks. I just learned how to share a photo on here. I never knew I could do that. Cool. So we'll be doing a lot more of that in the future. Now I know how to do it. And he's a bad dog. He's driving me nuts. He's biting me. He's jumping on me. And I don't know if any of you have these poo type dogs. They call this guy a multi-poo. I'm questioning whether he's a multi-poo, a cockapoo, or an Aussie poo, or all of the above. I didn't see a lot of Maltese in there. Like he's kind of he's a little bigger than a Maltese. But anyway, he likes to do this. You know, maybe you have dogs that do this. He stands up on his back legs and he does this. And so that frustrated her. And she's always jumping all over my guests. It's so embarrassing. And he jumps up on the table. It's so embarrassing. And he won't eat. I put food down for him and he won't eat. And I don't want a grazer. I'm not having a grazer. Now you're going to brace yourself for the next line that she said to me. Look at this face and and look at what he's doing. This is my first session with him, and he was already on body, signals going to place and staying there looking for a direction for the next thing. He said he bites me all the time. I come home from work and I'm so tired. I just want to sit and watch a show, and I can't do that because he's biting me. And then I put him on the couch and he digs in the couch. And I put his food down and he won't eat it. So I just tell him, well, if you're going to graze, it's going in the fridge, and I'm not putting it back down. So when I asked her what a typical day looked like for him, it was too cold, too tired, too dark. There was always some reason why we couldn't do anything with the dog. He sleeps beautifully in his crate at night, but they leave him alone in the kitchen all day, and her mother lives there and comes in and out. So the next line she said was, I just can't keep this dog if he's going to continue to be like this. I said, hey, what do you think my response was? Type in the comments what you think my response was to that statement. I don't think I can keep this dog. Oh, really? So here was my response. I'll take him. Yeah, I'll take him. I have like at least 10 people who have reached out to me wanting a dog exactly like this. I'll take him. And so right away, she softened. I wasn't doing that to be nasty. I was doing that to wake her up. So when I went through some things, I said, I'll take him. And by the way, if he's grazing, what kind of a typical day for him? And there was nothing there. And so when she finally figured it out, and you are going to see the videos, I'm putting a video series together of our first session because it was so informative. It'll be on my YouTube channel in the next couple of weeks, and I'll let you know when it's up. there'll be a post on my Instagram page. She said, and when I started to talk to her about what he needs, what we can do with him, she went, "Oh, it's us." And I have several, I don't know if I have videos in here or pictures of him or not, laying down beside me. They were stunned. So they weren't walking him. I'll just show you the back of the owner because this will be okay. That's it. No, there we go. The back. So you can see the focus. So this is what I want to talk to you about this week. And if you haven't already, type Leash in the comments and get access to the checklist here that we've created for you. This is just a one page that you can stick on your fridge. But really, the conversation with her was about, you're not behind. She says he's 7 months old. He should know all this by now. They'd had some bad experiences with another trainer in the area. For the trainers out there, this is a little message to you. This guy, and now it wasn't his fault, and I wasn't there, so I'm just telling you from her perspective. She said they took him. They did what they thought was right. They went to a puppy training class. I don't do group puppy training classes for a reason. I can't stand the chaos. And this is what it was. It was total chaos and yelling from the trainer that they weren't feeding food fast enough. And he starts to bark. This guy's a demand barker. Remember a while ago, if you follow me very, very often, you know, it was probably 2 sessions ago, we talked about help. How do I stop my dog from barking? And my question is always, why is your dog barking? And this little guy's barking because it works for him. He would bark and they would say, be quiet. And you know, negative attention is still attention. So that's all he was doing, was barking for attention, and it was working for him. And the guy here, he says, well, he doesn't do that with me. But the dog wasn't really even that interested in him, to be honest with you. This was the most engagement they'd ever had, and that was by his own admission. In this group class that they had, she said the trainer stood in the middle and told everybody to keep throwing food, and the dog and bird barking. So he started to bark and jump and do his little thing like this. So if you're a trainer in the group, if you're a trainer here, think about this. What would you do? Post in the comments if you want to share that, but you don't have to. What would you do with a dog like that? And this is why, if I'm going to do a group class, I want at least one helper, because that helper is going to go and work one-on-one with that person and help the owner to relax, because the owner now is embarrassed and she's feeling inadequate and she's feeling like she's failed, or she's feeling like she's just behind everybody else. They look so much more in control, which isn't true, by the way. And instead, what the trainer did was sent them away, not out of the room, but you go and sit behind that curtain, and we're going to give him a timeout. I have a really strong opinion about that. Just saying. If you're paying me to train your dog and to help you understand how to connect with your dog, the last thing I should be doing as a trainer is sending you away from the group. We have a ton of different exercises that teach the dog how to cope. So the leash, I'm going to show you where we ended up with this little guy. This is where we ended up with him. He's like, woohoo, I have a job. This is cool. And we did a little bit of duration work there. He stayed there for about 90 seconds at one point, which is a very long time. But she sent him out of the chaos. And that's fine if you want to get the owner to go and take a deep breath and then come on back in and we're going to work together. That's the proper protocol. But sticking that dog behind a curtain for the whole duration of the class until everybody else was leaving is not helping anybody. So here we have a couple here that have a little puppy that, unfortunately, I don't have a picture of her. I'm going to go back to I'd love to go to the videos, but I don't think they'll work, and they're too long anyway. So then we have, that was one, and there's the other one. Now he's got his hand down. I want you to see, I want you to look at the leash. That's an 8-foot drag line with no handle on it. So keep in mind, when you look at your checklist here, the first thing, if you type leash in the comments, the first thing we talk about is a mindset shift. And if you're training a group class and you send a client behind a curtain, leave them there for the rest of the class, you're not going to help their state of mind, the dog or the owners. So you don't want to have, so the benefit here is this poor couple felt really bad because they weren't able to get this dog outside. You know, he doesn't like to be outside because his feet get cold and he can't deal with it. Well, it was all about the dog, but there's more going on here. So when I asked some pointed questions like, do you have any kind of a floor space in your house at all where you can maybe even just push things aside? And whether it's and they both looked at each other and went, well, what about the basement? Yay, what about the basement? Because you see this is my classroom, like you see in the picture. It's only 16 by 32, like it's not very big. And I have had as many as 30 dogs in that room at workshops, but I've also when we do our academy summits twice a year for the dog trainers that are in my dog trainer training school, we have anywhere from 6 to 10 dogs in there. And we have a process that helps them be calm, but it isn't isolating them and putting them in. Even the worst ones, we don't put them in away, even though the owners sometimes would like to. If it's warm, they sometimes take them and put them in a crate. But the point is, we want to change the energy. When this lady came in the room, this is her husband, but when they came in the room, I said to her, I said, are you okay? Like, she was literally in tears. She was so frustrated with this dog. And the backstory was she had a dog that had died at age 13. So that's a long time to have a dog, even though it's a snap. It's a blink of an eye when you love the dog. And 6 months later, I don't know if a friend gave her this dog or sent her a picture. And I mean, let's face it. If somebody sent you a picture like, where did it go here? Have to keep like that. What are you going to do? I can never go and look at a litter of puppies like that. I'd have to bring one home. So she's frustrated because the dog in her mind is out of control. In her profile that she sent me beforehand, I seriously expected this dog to be coming in, gnashing his teeth and on his back legs and pulling hard against the leash and barking at everything. He didn't do any of that. He just came in and kind of looked around, and she didn't want to use a lot of food with him, so we didn't use food. And this guy has such a brain. So anyway, when we started to dissect what was not happening for the dog, she had an aha moment. And I'm going to go back to the other thing, which I want to describe to you what we did, because she brought him in. First of all, I don't have one here for a reason, but she brought him in on a flexi lead. Type 1 in the comments if you use a flexi lead to walk your dog, and there's no judgment here. Because she said, isn't that what everybody uses? Well, maybe not everybody that works with me, and not any dog trainers that work with me, they have their place. I do use a flexi lead. I admit I do use a flexi lead at night when I have a room that's not, or a yard that's not fenced, or when I'm in a trailer, like a campground, and I need to let the dog out to go to the bathroom if I'm like it's raining and I want the dog to come right back. I don't put them on just a drag line like this. I'll use a flexi lead because I want them to know where I am. So she's using a flexi lead and she's walking like this, because she's trying to walk with the dog, and the dog's going like this because there's so much, yeah, right, Kristen, there's so much tension on that leash. So flexi leads have their place, but that isn't on the walk. So that was our first thing. So the second thing we did, and this is where the mindset shift comes, not only for the owner, but for the dog. If you're just joining us, type leash in the comments and you'll be able to follow along with how I'm going to walk you through what we did here. Is we just hooked the leash on and I didn't touch it. So I start to walk. I don't know if I can do this in here. You want up, Pippi? Okay, there you go. Come on, here, Pip. Oh, you either get up on your own. So I start walking and the puppy's beside me. And if he goes ahead, I just stop and I'll do, and I get him to come back. And then we walk ahead. Why do I do that little kissy sound, which used to really make me crazy? But my good friend Stephen Lindsay, who wrote the book of Applied Dog Training and Behavior, talked about the connection of that sound with suckling when they're first born, with their eyes are still closed. And that is a deep-rooted trigger in a dog's brain when a dog's not coming. And a puppy like this, particularly, who'd been nothing but yelled at, she started to go through the conversation she had with him. She was doing it there. And so then he starts to come beside me. And then when we stop, he does this jumping. And right away, she shifts gears. Her mind goes back to bad dog. So he's jumping. Look at that. He's jumping. I can't. It's embarrassing when company comes. It's embarrassing. Stop it. I just want him to stop it. So I asked her one thing. I want all of you to think about this when your dog's driving you crazy. what's the one thing that gives you that oxytocin feeling, that moment, that everything's fine. But what she said was right after I booked a trip. So that's cool, especially a winter like this one. So we're standing there talking, and we've done so I as I say, I walk and then I just stop. But you see how his position is, where he's looking at the dog and the dog is looking at him. Ultimately, when your dog's finally walking nicely beside you on a loose leash, you're focused forward, because that's what leaders do. But in this connection phase, when there was absolutely no connection, and in my tribe training framework, the R is relationship first, there was no relationship here other than, I don't want to be near you. Your energy is negative. I don't want to be near you. So it took a long time. It took a long time for me to get the puppy to come away from me and onto them, because, right, like I said to them, you have baggage, I have none. And I set the rules right from the beginning. No talk, no touch, lots of eye contact. And the only talk was, yes, good boy, to the whole thing. So anyway, he starts to do his little jumping, feed me, feed me, feed me. And I have the leash, and it's on the floor. I don't know if you can see this, but I just stepped on it. Why did I step on it? Anybody know? If you're a trainer, you can type in the comments, why would I step on the leash? Yeah, thanks, Ed. I stepped on the leash. Why? Because then the dog self-corrects. I don't have to touch it. I don't have to get upset, and I can continue helping and talking to the owners. And what he did, he jumped maybe 3 times. And he only had a flat collar on. There's no anything else here but his normal flat collar. They brought him in on a flex lead with a harness. So I just took the harness off and detached the flexi lead and let him sniff around and do his thing. And then we hooked this onto his flat collar after he pooped on the floor, but that was okay. And then he just sat down and did this. And now the owner's not standing on the leash, because by now he doesn't have to. Why? Because we changed the dog's state of mind by not saying anything, and by not touching him, and by not pushing him off to make him stop jumping, pushing him. There's Pippi. See, she says, I'll play that game, right, Pip? Pippi was her owner, her initial owner already did all this. But by not pushing him, what the puppy realized was, there's nothing in this for me. I'm wasting energy. If I keep jumping, I'm getting no reward. Dogs are energy conservationists. They will not waste energy if there's no advantage to them. That was step number 1. Just stop paying attention to the dog. Have a line on him in the house. And every time he jumps, just step on it and move closer if you need to. And if you feel the need, pick it up. But boy, here's one of the things this is why this works in the house. I don't want them to pick it up. The leash is simply like a seatbelt. It's a guidance thing. It's a seatbelt. So this one is it says 6 foot in your checklist, but it's actually, this was an 8-foot drag line in the house all the time, because what he was doing was he was getting away and going and doing things they didn't want him to do. And I said, how does he do that? Well, we're sitting trying to watch our shows. But how much work has the dog had for the rest of the day? He's 7 months old. Well, we're tired. So you see what he's doing there? So here's what we did. And I'll use Pippi as an example. Good girl, Pip. So Pippi's laying down. She already knows this gig. She knows that she can't pester me because there's nothing in it for her. But simply, I want to teach this dog to want to follow me. And you do that how? Less talk, less touch, soft eye contact, and movement. Movement diffuses tension. It gives you something else to think about, and it triggers in the dog the desire to be near. When your energy is calm, the dog wants to be near you. And remember, the other piece of the tribe training framework is that energy matters. These people came into the classroom, and I have this, it isn't just unique to these people. Owners come in, especially this winter when it's been so cold and frustrating. And I'm not an empath, I'm nothing special, but boy, I tell you what, I can read negative energy when it comes into my classroom. And it was she, like I say, she was crying when she came in. I actually hugged her. I said, it's going to be okay. We're going to fix this. It's okay. And she just felt so at wit's end would be a best way to describe it. So by the time we left, this is what we saw. So how did we work that? Well, first of all, I taught the dog. In the checklist, it talks about creating that tension and then teaching the dog how to turn it off. I didn't have to do that with this dog. All I did, hey Pip, you want to show them? Pippi, I have Pippi on the end of the line. She hasn't been on a leash for, months, many months, since the summer. So she's not a jumper either. But if she was going to get in trouble, I just step on the line and I make sure there's still a little bit of a smile there. So I'm not trying to, good dog to sit. And I acknowledge the behavior I want. That was it. That's it. And I'm hanging on to this so I don't trip over it. That's it. But it's loose, and so that the puppy doesn't grab it. That's it. And I don't wind it like this, not like this at all. And remember, this is a drag line that has no handle on it. You can use an old leash for this. And then I just take a couple of loops so that I can keep in control. Now she'd backed up, so I give her more slack. That was the first step. And then when I was ready to go, I just start walking. Let's go, Pip. And then she just follows. Now Pippi's had this. So the puppy was the same thing. I turn my back, excuse me, and we walk away. And see how the leash is loose. She just wants to follow. She knows something good's going to happen. Now, how we start to teach this is so we would walk with that puppy. What I'm trying to do is build a following mindset. Every puppy, I start with an 8-foot line, and I just let them drag it. That's it. I'm not asking for this. How many people have you seen? They get a new dog, and maybe type in the comments a 1 if this is you. Oops, you get the dog, and she was doing this with a flexi lead. The first thing they start goes, heel, get back here, heel. And the puppy's going, oh, what? That's no fun. It's no fun. You want to be the fun person, the person that they want to follow. And so I take Pippi, and this is the same. See how she's moving with me? I haven't tightened the leash. And this is all we did with that puppy is that. So the woman's saying, well, how do I walk him around the block? It's minus friggin' 30 degrees. You're not walking him around the block. What does this do? This is activating puppy's brain. Now we've got what we call a dual purpose walk, a complete exercise. Not only are we moving the dog's body, but we're triggering his thinking part of his brain, that frontal lobe that does all the decision making and problem solving. He's going, if I stay close, I'm not going to do this with Pippi because I don't have any food with me, but I have a treat pouch, and see how she's following me. I have not once tightened the leash, and I move forward with that little puppy, and I would stop. He'd sit beside me. Then I would reach in my pouch, and then I would feed him. I'm not bribing him. I'm not getting him to follow unless he's nervous. I'll do that with nervous dogs, but with a new puppy, it was so much fun, and it should be fun. See how she's following? She's looking for something, but she won't get it. But then I would feed. Good job. And for her, good dog, Pippi. Yeah, such a good girl. She just wags her tail. She's fine. So the idea here, and I can step or I can go. Are there any questions to that? Post in the comments if you've got a question around that, because it really is about step 1. Be the person your dog wants to hang out with. When you start to feel upset with your dog, ask yourself this question. Would you hang out with you right now? And if the answer is no, I've got it. There we go. If the answer is no, take a deep breath. And as I said to this lady, think about booking that trip. And you could just see her soften. And then the dog was hanging out. And that's all we're asking her to do, just like this. All you're doing in the first thing. So her question was, how do I walk him around the block? You don't. When it's minus 30, even if it's not minus 30, when you want to build a following relationship with your dog, start in the house. And this is it. Keep it loose. And also, this is a drag line. Now, Pippi doesn't do this anymore, but have a lightweight nylon, a cat leash works perfectly, and you just let them drag it. You can see in the picture that I showed you earlier, when he's with his owner, beside him, even on the place. But you can see he has that drag line, that red line. It's 8 feet long. It's made out of nylon. It's got a little wee clip on it. It's hooked onto his flat collar. And that puppy drags it along so that they can step on it when they're ready to go and do some work. Here's what they're going to do. And here's what you can do with your dog. If you're living in this horrendous weather right now, or even if you're just regardless, even if it's perfect outside, sometimes the environmental stimulation is overwhelming for most dogs, and you're just trying to figure out who this dog is, and they're trying to figure out who you are. The first thing you want to do is Work on your relationship. Work on your relationship. And the idea is every time the dog is in that proper position on their own, dragging the leash behind, or you have it loose in your hand like I showed you, is you mark that with a yes. And you do not have to feed, but you can. That's an option. If you're going to feed, feed. Be consistent. For the first 2 weeks, every time you say that word yes, then you reach in your pouch, then you feed the dog right where it is, not out front, not back there, right beside you, where you want him, then or her. So pretty soon they start to realize, yes is my paycheck for doing the right thing. That is the right thing. And there's a whole bunch of other that we went on to some other things, but we can talk about that later. Because in this routine, you can actually build in recall as well. But start in the house where there's no distractions. Then the next level, as she must have asked me 10 times, how do I walk them around the block? The answer is you don't, until you've got that perfect relationship of a dog that just wants to follow you. Want to follow Pippi? Hey, that's it. Thank you, Pippi. That's a good down. So Pippi comes and lays down because she thinks I'm going to pick her up. She doesn't like to be picked up. So I'm not going to pick her up. Right, Pip? I know. What do you think? And that's the kind of conversations I can have with the dog, not yelling and telling her she's bad, because she's not bad. Can I pick you up, Pip? No? All right. She just rolls on her back. That's her sign. Don't pick me up. Not picking her up. So she knows how to get up there. All right. So once you have mastered that system in the basement or in a flat open spot in your house, like a perfect spot in a small condo would be walking around the coffee table. Just like that, just walk around the center of the room or up and down the hall. Practice inside where you're comfortable. The distractions are minimal. The leash can drag, and if the dog happens to get away from you and you miss stepping on it, because that's why it's 8 feet long, no big deal. They're not going to run into traffic, okay? So that's where you start. And then there's a whole bunch of steps after that. With each step, every time you've mastered one. So if you're walking, you say you're in a condo and you're working your hallway and you go, I've done this 2 days in a row. He's perfect. Don't run outside yet. Do maybe another 3 or 4 days. So until you're in a rhythm where everything you're doing is almost reflex because you've built muscle memory and your dog has built muscle memory. Then your next step is to go to your next level of distractions. That might be on a different floor, or it might be if you have a house, it might be in your driveway, or if you're in a condo or an apartment building, it might be in some section of your parking lot. And then work there for another week or two and master the walking there. Keep in mind, this kind of work, 10-minute increments, is more tiring to your dog than an hour and a half of just running wild all over the street trying to figure out what they're supposed to do next, because that creates a chaotic state of mind. And number one, that mindset shift, we want to create a thinking state of mind. So if you want to know more on this, you want to grab this checklist, type leash in the comments. Now I see a question here. Yeah, there we are. I have a Boston Terrier. If you have any questions about this, post them in the comments. If you want the checklist, type leash in the comments. But realize this exercise and what I'm trying to convey to you is not about the leash. It's about your relationship. Because relationship is your most important asset that you have with your dog. When your dog trusts you, when they know they can defer to you, Pippi's at my feet. She's sitting right behind me, right there. Well, what are you talking about? You're talking about me. Yep, she doesn't like the camera on her. But your relationship is what matters most. And if you spend all of your time being frustrated with your dog and having that energy that just would repel you from you, then just think about what it's doing to your dog. That's your most important asset. Okay, I'm going to go to questions. Start to type your questions in the comments here as we wind down. The Boston Terrier, I love it. He's well trained. However, he starts to bark and get feisty when he wants to play. Even if you're engaging with him, he still starts barking and getting fixated on you. Okay, and I get that. I have a Boston Terrier in the house who's just the same. And boy, does he get fixated. Those little buggy eyes pop out, and he will actually bite. He'll come in and nip. So, okay, that was the statement, and you don't know how to get him to stop. Any suggestions? Yeah. Here's what I would do. So, first of all, let me ask a question. I don't know how old he is. So, how old is he? And when you say, even if you were engaging with him, he's well trained, he starts to bark and get fight when he wants to play. Okay. So post in the comments for how old he is. And And when you say even when you're engaging with them, what does that mean? How are you engaging with them? So the thing to remember around leadership is that leaders control three things. Movement, which we just talked about. That's what all this is about. Controlling the movement without controlling movement. We're encouraging the dog to be with us. Hey, Pip, you want to come up? You want to come up? No, you don't. Okay, good down. Thank you. The other thing I do is I incorporate the command I'm trying to teach into the praise. Good down. Yeah, you're free. And then I release the command. And I did all that with that little puppy. And he's just like, whoa, this is so cool. If your dog doesn't trust you, he can't learn from you. So movement, space, which is everything around. If you have a couch and if he's jumping on you, he's trying to control your space. And you watch how Pippi moves out of my way when I walk into her space. Just like that. That's all I'm asking. I don't turn and pursue her. I just stop. That's called spatial pressure. I relieve that pressure, and then I walk forward. She drops in behind me to follow. So that's the space resource. And then number three is resources. And what happens is people mistake resources for being just food, water, and toys. And it's so much more than that. And we saw that with this little puppy. And you're explaining the exact same thing with your Boston Terrier. He's demanding your attention. And he's demanding that you play. And he's getting feisty because he's treating you like he would treat another dog. That's what dogs do. They see us in their world. They don't see themselves in our world. So he's trying to get you to adjust with and to come into his world. And that's how Bostons are so funny. You know, they're very bullish. They're bullyish, like they're bully breeds. But they're cute bully breeds. So that's what he's doing. So what's the solution? Well, first of all, I don't know how you're engaging with him. I just stopped the engagement. Even with Prince, because Prince, I'm going to shut the door here so you can see him. He'll do that and he's very regimented in his schedule. He's over there, but what I would suggest when he starts to, if you're, I don't know what you're doing when you say engaging with him. If you're petting him, stop petting him. If you're playing tug with him, that's part of the game. Then you just end the game by saying, okay, we're done. And whatever else you're doing for engagement, just stop it. And you don't stop it like forever. Let's say we're doing something and all of a sudden he starts to bark and jump. And this is what and I have a Boston Terrier here right now. I wish he was out here, but he's old now. He's 10. So he's not feisty anymore. But I get it. And he used to do what we call play with his imaginary friends. You know, he'd jump down and he'd be pretending he was chasing shadows. But the thing to do to deliver a message that is crystal clear, but also fair, and also put you in a role that he can trust and respect is you just withdraw all attention. You don't yell at him. You don't touch him. You just fold your arms, take a deep breath, and withdraw all attention and affection. Because negative attention is still attention. If you want to engage, and I did this with that puppy, and you saw me do it here with Pippi, you can, here's how you can elevate that, or you can de-escalate it. You elevate it or escalate it by going, what do you want? You're so funny. You give me that. And you re-engage like he's doing to you. But if you want to end it, you go, no, we're done. And you just look away. Change the energy. Does that make sense? Double tap on the screen if that makes sense. I don't see any follow-up here to that. So, he's 7. Okay. So he's just in his prime. If I stop and try to ignore him, he continues to bark like crazy, and then comes over to me and paws at me hard. I get up and leave the room. Just walk away. And the other thing to do is make sure he's got a drag line on it. Even though he's 7 years old, you might have to back up. I often teach people to back up to go ahead. So put a little light drag light on him, like you see in that picture that I showed you there just a minute ago. If you're just joining, I'll go back and show it so that you can see what it looks like. And now that I know I can do this, I'll have a whole bunch of assets lined up for the next one. But you can see in that picture, that little red drag line, we stopped that puppy from jumping and barking and demanding like you're describing for your Boston in one session. In the first 15 minutes of the first session, he recognized this doesn't work for me. Now he's only 7 months old. Your guy is 7 years old. So he's got baggage, what I call baggage. So make sure he's got a flat collar on. Ideally, a martingale would be even better, but get that drag line on him in the house. If you've got an old leash, cut the handle off it. And as soon as if he barks, you just look away. If he's pawing at you, I'm very, if I have a dog that's pawing at me, I'll react like that. And then I just walk away, or I just fold and I look away. So he said, you're going to have to be patient with this because he has a history and it's working for him. So that's, and if you want to dig into it more, you want to send me a video, please, by all means, do that. If you want to book, if you want to talk more about it, look into my bio. There's all kinds of ways you can reach out to me, or just DM me. But that's what I would do. When you say try to ignore him, there is no try. There's do or do not. And the way you ignore him is you physically like, and if you have to, you get up and leave the room. If that doesn't work, I put him in his crate. If he's not crate trained, that's a bigger issue. But I put him in his crate just to let him know we're not doing that right now, because leaders control space and you're going to manage that space. And if he's coming in and pawing hard at you, and they do have hard little claws, I don't get that with Boston, but you just ignore him. Like just get up and walk away. Sorry, just get up and walk away from him. Does that help? And keep me posted, because at 7 years old, there's something in his little bully brain that says, this has always worked for me. Bostons are a riot. They are a riot. They're so animated and they're so instinctive. This little guy that comes here, I did say to his owner when she brought him, because he was fear aggressive, and he was fear aggressive because every person he encountered he was shoved into their face. Like she would pick him up and shove him at people. She thought that's how he was supposed to meet people. So he became fear aggressive. But what we did to stop that was we just ignored him. And I said, my guidance to her when she finally came back to get him after he'd been here for about 6 weeks, and it was very progressive. He was very, very good once he understood the rules of engagement. And that's all you're trying to teach your guy is rules of engagement. And what I said to her was, now that he's not afraid of people anymore, because we've taught people how to approach him properly, he is going to get pushy. Watch out. And he's an office dog, so she would take him to the office. And sure enough, she said he's pushing people, he's scratching at them, and he's jumping on them, and he's demanding. Yeah. So now you do, if you're standing here, pissy poker, and standing still, and or even if you're sitting and he jumps up on your lap, and I'm just speculating here because you haven't given me the detail, and he starts to paw at you, here's what I do with that. Can you see? I don't know if you can see Pippi or not. Come on, Pip. So if he starts to paw at me, and I've done this with Charlie, because that's what he'll do the same thing. I just stand up, very calm, everything with specific intent, and I move forward into his space to get him to go away. And I say nothing. I might go to a different room, or I might sit back down. And if he paws me again, I'm going to do the same thing. And then if he does it again, now we've got to have it. We've got to do something different. But we've got to, so that there is an option. You can put him in his crate, or, and like I say, I thought I had a sit on the dog picture of the puppy, but I don't. You put him, you still attach this leash. If I can do this with Pippi or not. Come here, Pip. Come here, Pip. Come here, Pip. I need you for a minute. That's a girl. Yep. So whether you're on the couch or not, you do what I call sit on the dog. She might try to jump up on my lap, but because she's allowed. So then this is another way to stop him. You limit his options. So you sit on his leash like so. So he has just enough slack to lay down. And if he continues, you can dismiss him if he jumps up by pushing him off. But if he's not playing the game, he doesn't understand it, then you do this. You put your feet on the leash and you just continue watching television. And he has just enough slack here to lay down. If he jumps up, he's only going to get to about here. And then he's going to get self-corrected, because you want to remove yourself from the equation. And you do that by remaining calm, silent, and intentional, by not giving in. If he's very, and I'm sure he's persistent and going to continue to be, because he's 7 years old. As I say, your options are just what I said: walk through his space and totally ignore him. No talk, no touch. Put him on a leash and step on it or sit on it, so he can't paw at you because he can't get up that high. Or put him in his crate and then go and get him afterwards and take him for a walk. You want to make sure, if he's 7 years old, you want to make sure, check my previous videos of the fulfillment formula. and you can put type fulfillment in the comments if you want access to that checklist. But you want to make sure that his needs have been met. In other words, has he had enough exercise? Has he had dinner? Has everything fallen into place so that his daily routine has been predictable and fulfilling? And if all that has been met, the work, rest, play balance that is in the we talked about last week, type fulfillment in the comments if you want to get access to that checklist, then put him in his crate. And just repeat. You have to be persistent and consistent with this. In other words, you're telling him we're not doing this anymore. The cool thing about dogs, particularly intelligent ones, they are always willing to change. If the humans are willing to change, and if the change becomes consistent and predictable and speaks to the dog in language that they understand. Dogs are not verbal creatures. They will not understand your verbal. They might eventually over years, because you say the same thing and you say one sound and you do the same action that associates with that sound. That's why marker words are so important. But most people don't do that. Not even for simple recall. Instead of saying puppy come, they'll go puppy here, come on in here, come on over here. Oh, I said get over here. That's not clear to the dog. Same thing with the following. I say nothing. And as soon as the dog is beside me, I just walk. I'm just moving around, like just moving with specific intent. When I stop and the dog happens to be beside me, I'm going to let him know, yes, good dog. If they're not, I go somewhere else. You got to practice that in the house, in close quarters, where there's not cramped, but where there's no distractions, nowhere to draw the dog away. You add your distractions gradually. But does that help? I hope that's helped, because that's just demanding. That's what we call demanding your attention, and it's worked for him along the way. That's what I maybe you don't think it's funny. I think it's funny because he's talking to you. And if you do anything, you're talking back to him. And if he doesn't understand the language, he's going to try his language harder. If you ever gone to a strange country where you don't speak the language, and how do you get the point across? You go through all kinds of hand gestures. Finally, you might just grab the person and lead them to where it is you think they want to go, or they will lead you. So this is exactly the same. You've got human and a dog that speak different languages. So it's when he starts to understand. If he paused you and you finally give up, this is what most people do. They go, no, stop it, no. Oh, all right. So what's that tell the dog? That tells the dog that he just got to paw a little bit harder and a little bit longer, and he'll eventually get what he wants. So hope that makes sense. But just be persistent and be intentional. If you want to, the list on this, the name on this checklist for this week is a little bit of a misnomer. It says loose leash walking starts long before you step outside. That's true. But the whole intention, the first step is to get your relationship solid. But the long-term goal is loose leash walking, and most people start in the wrong place. They start by and this is what this little guy was on the weekend. They start by trying to make him walk around the block when it's minus 30. So not only does he not like it because it's not that much fun, the owner's not liking it either, because I'm going to tell you, I don't like walking in minus 30-degree temperature, but then everybody gets frustrated. So she drags him, or she just gives up and throws him back in the house and thinks, well, there's that. I can't walk him anymore. There's a ton of different ways. You just start where you've got an open space, and all you need is 5 minutes to start in the house, in the basement. Be very intentional. And then when you're finished, throw the ball. Yay, good dog. Go for a pee, and then put them in their crate to have a sleep. That's the work, rest, play formula right there, and it all happens in maximum 15 minutes. Your work part of it's only 5 minutes. The potty part in the yard's probably another 5. And then when you or the play and then the potty, there's your 10, and they go in the crate. When it's minus 30, that works. Then, because these people both work, I said, if you did that in the morning, then go to work. She is lucky enough she can come home at lunchtime, do the same thing. Get them out, take them for a potty break, do a 2-minute walk around in the basement with the proper timing on your marker words and the proper timing on when you give him the paycheck, and then sit on his leash while you finish your lunch. Take him for one more potty break and put him away, and he's going to think about that all afternoon. When you come home, only repeat a little bit longer this time, because then he can stay out for the rest of the night. And that's by the time the nice weather comes, and I'm almost certain we will get nice weather at some point here, although we've been buried in this relentless winter since November, if you build that muscle memory and that relationship, by the time you're ready to step outside, yes, we're going to deal with some distractions, but there's a whole system for that as well. There's going to be more to this. And putting this all together, there'll be more to it. So keep checking back. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I love, oh, there we, yeah, Rigby to Boston for sure. For sure. Okay. Yeah. Because what you don't want to do is be totally exhausted before you even start your work, before you start walking on your work. So who has some questions? Post your, oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate that. Yep, fulfillment, that's going to get you the work, rest, play, the recipe for fulfillment from last week. If you want to understand, now this is the beginning. This is the beginning. There's so much more to this, so much more to come. But type leash in the comments to get started so that you want to be ready for spring. And we have a lot more to come on that for all of you, and you'll get first notice on when we're rolling that out. Okay, let me see. Okay, no other questions. You guys are quiet this week. All right, yep, got that. Was that helpful? If you found it helpful, just double tap on the screen or type a 1 in the comments. If you have any other questions, let me know. Yeah, yeah. If you want the checklist, type leash in the comments. I think that's it for this week. We will be back here. Oh my goodness, this is the last Tuesday in February. Oh, that's encouraging, because that means next Tuesday is March. Okay, you just hardly wait for that. That usually signals some kind of shift in the weather here in Ontario, and down south it gets warmer and hopefully drier. We will have a little bit of spring rains, but I know most of the people in my circle here are waiting for it to not be minus 30 anymore. We thought we had it. We had a little teaser last week and then it wasn't. So anyway, I hope you got something out of that. Remember, if you haven't done so already, type leash in the comments. Oh, wrong sheet. To get this, and this is a black and white version, but it is colorful. It is colored. The best time to introduce the leash to a puppy, that's a great question, is as soon as you bring them home. As soon as you bring them home. And an introduction means this. Show you the picture again. Introducing the leash means simply attaching the leash and letting the dog drag it. And if he picks it up and chews on it, just be careful that he doesn't swallow it. And you can say and just remove it from his mouth, give him a toy to chew on or a bone or something else. But you want to get that leash on him right away in the house. In the house. Yeah, type leash in the comments, and there's a little bit of it talks about before you begin, pick a quiet indoor space, and then we don't get into there's a whole other thing on tethering, but what's missing in here is just leaving the leash on and let him drag it. You want to let him drag it around the house, and that works on your recall, because then if he's as a puppy, and you can work on that, you step on the line when he's looking away from you, you can get right down, give those kissy sounds and clap your hands, and he comes back in and everything's good. It's all because you've set some boundaries. Leashes, dogs see leashes as restraints, and people see them as control. What they should be is a conversation. And what they should be is a way to set boundaries for your dog in a way that they understand, that doesn't take any emotion from you. You want to keep your hands off that leash with you first put it on your puppy, let him drag it, and if anything, you just step on it, and then you get real happy. Because the minute you pick that leash up in your hands, people tend to think control. They start to yank, they might pull. It makes me crazy when I see people pulling puppies on a leash, because the puppy doesn't get it, and what that does is compromises your relationship. A leash is simply a different way to have a conversation. It's not control, it's connection. You want to use that. Let him drag it so that he understands that sometimes there's limits on his space, and that it's all good. It's really, the leash needs to be a happy thing. So you want to put it on, you can put it on him, let him drag it around the house for a little while. When he goes in his crate, you take it off. When he comes back out, put it on, take him outside for a potty break. Maybe you have an outside leash and an inside leash. But it's all, for the first couple of weeks, it's just dragging. Because, as we talked about here, so we begin with the steps in this checklist, is you want to teach a following. You want him to follow you. You just follow. Right, Pip? You want him to follow you. You just move around the house and get him to follow. If he's crawling under something, you can just step on that leash and set that boundary, and then encourage him to come to you. When you drag him or you force that, that's going to be a lot more work and a lot more resistance from the dog. what you want to do is use it as a boundary setting. I do, I use a 15-foot line outside, and by the time I'm finished with that long line exercise, the dog understands they have natural boundaries. And you can see it's the easiest way to transition to off leash. They go to beyond the 15. You can see them start to slow down, then they'll turn around, they look. When they look back, it's, yeah, good dog. And they come back and we have a little love fest. So the best time to introduce a leash to a puppy is as soon as you bring them home. Okay, Kristen, I see that question in here. I'm just going to come back to it. Oops. Yeah, I have a Maltese that licks his paws all day and he's getting brown on his paws. What can I do to make him stop? Okay, the question is always the same. What does his day look like? Is he getting enough exercise, enough balance of work, rest, and play? Work being a structured walk, rest being undisturbed in a crate, and play being either playing with his own toys or engagement play with you with fetch and tug. That's the question. Type fulfillment in the comments, Kristen, if you want to get the checklist for how to build a predictable, productive daily routine for your dog. And if you're happy with the way his day goes, he gets adequate exercise with you, not just running around loose in the backyard unsupervised, but there's actually a leader-follower relationship happening there. You might want to check with your vet because there could be some allergies happening. And I don't know where you live, but if you're in an area where there's no snow, and he's on grass, there could be pesticides on the grass that are irritating his skin. It could be boredom, which is why I started with the fulfillment formula, but also it could be dietary. So check with your vet. Now be cautious. I don't know what you're feeding him. Your vet's going to give you their recommendation for what they sell likely, but you want to get something that works because generally that obsessive behavior is caused by boredom or allergies. That's unfortunately, that's the reality. And you can sometimes how old is he? Because if it's gone on for a long time, you may have to take some measures like, you might have to put a cone on him so he can't reach his feet for a little while until you get his balance, till you get his diet regulated and his exercise regulated and those sorts of things. Okay. All right, folks. If there's no other questions, we will sign off for this week. I hope you got something from that. Give me a one in the comments if you picked up. What was your takeaway? Does anyone have a takeaway that sticks in their mind? You can type in the comments and share with us. Oops. If you still want to get a copy of the checklist for this week, type Leash in the comments and you get automatic access to it right away. And if you're looking for that, because we're here in this minus 30-degree temperatures and still 3 feet of snow, and they're actually calling for another 10 centimeters of snow for tomorrow, so that's like 3 inches or so. Type fulfillment in the comments because that campaign's still active from last week where we talked about the importance of predictable daily routine. Okay. All right, folks. I know yep. Thanks, Tad Granny. My internet's a little bit slow, so if you've typed something in here, I might. Yep. Oh, thank you, Anne. Yeah, we will see you Friday. Okay, so he's great in a crate, small one for sleep, but not in the big one. Well, so the idea here is just a minute here. I'm gonna back up and see what your initial question was. Yeah, so that's good. The depending on how long he's going to be left. Latricia, if you go into my bio and there's a free puppy course in there, I highly recommend that you download it. It's free. It's free. There's no cost to it. I have a bigger one in there, but the free one's going to give you a lot of information, on things like crate training. It's great in a crate. That's excellent, but for sleep, but not in the big one during the day because it's too big. It's just like he feels trapped. You want to have him. Puppies should be the formula that I use for puppy exercise is 1 hour out, 2 hours in, up until they're 6 months old. Then we start to transition on a 1-to-1. But if you give him enough quality exercise and a productive, predictable daily routine, then he will go in after he's been out anytime between 30 and 60 minutes and you put him back in the crate, he'll go to sleep. And if you're worried, like if you have to leave him for a long period of time, you could put the crate inside an X pen so that he goes in the crate to sleep, but he comes outside of the X pen to do his business and then it will go back. You want to have the big crate might make him feel vulnerable. That's all. Oftentimes, if I have that situation, I will put a smaller crate inside a bigger one so that if I'm worried about him, getting out and having to pee, I don't want him to pee in his crate or mess in his crate. So I'll put that inside a bigger crate. But an exercise pen, they're not that expensive, and you can buy them on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace. But if you put the little crate in, if you have to leave him to go to work, for example, put his crate inside the X pen, put all his toys and things in there, but put his food and water away from the crate or his water, and put newspapers out where you want him to go potty if you can't get back to let him out, because you don't want to leave him in the crate. I get that, because you don't want him to feel trapped. But by leaving him in a big crate without any kind of den-like feeling, that's what it is. He's feeling threatened and at risk. So that, but go to my bio and check out the puppy parent. It's called The Art of Puppy Parenting. There's a free version there. Download that. That'll give you some tips for sure. All right, great question. Okay, all right, I think we're good. So we had some great engagement on the show this week. And what you realized, we learned a new trick on Instagram. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see I learned how to insert photos during the talk. So it isn't just about me, not my talking head. So I love that. You can look forward to seeing more of that in each episode as we move forward, because I have something big that I'm building with this process. And what you realize this week is it isn't about the leash. It's about how your dog experiences you. That's the magic. So maybe you realize that you've been trying to fix the wrong thing all along. If that's the case, be sure to stay tuned in, because I'm building something that's going to walk you through the whole process, step by step. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, because every click matters, helps us to be recognized and get our content out to more people just like you, so we can help you live your best life with your dog. And remember, training time is all the time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.